Welcome to Inspirational Journeys, everyone. My name is Ann Harrison, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with a dear friend and sister in Christ, Rachael Clarke. Welcome to the show, Rachael.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on to the show. So, Rachael, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Let's see. Where do I start? I live in Canada, in Manitoba. I grew up, born and raised here. I've always lived here my whole life. And grew up in a small city here in Manitoba called Brandon. And I guess we're talking about writing and artistic things. So I'll just say I was an extremely artistic child, kind of eccentric, I guess. Maybe I was always really looking at the world and everything around me and wanting to draw and paint everything I could see. And I would write little poems and stories and stuff. So yeah, I kind of started off with a creative streak, you'd say. And I just kind of grew up, and my life took a different path. I ended up becoming a police officer for 9 years. So I was 5 years with the RCMP, Royal Mounted Canadian Police. And then I also worked for another 4 years with the city police in Saskatchewan. And that was a really fulfilling career. Hard, challenging, but fulfilling. I got to help a lot of people, which was my goal. I wanted to serve. And so yeah, I did that, and I found a husband, and I got some kids, and I got two little boys now. And I guess about a few years ago, we moved back to Manitoba from Saskatchewan. Now we're living in Portage la Prairie, and I've kind of hung up my spurs, no longer policing, but I never forgot my passion for writing and for art. And I thought, I couldn't do it before because, everyone always tells you like there's no money in drawing pictures. You hear that a little bit. And and so I sought a different career that would kind of ensure some more financial stability. But now that I was a stay-at-home mom watching my kids, and I decided I'm going to dive back into those dreams and kind of pick that back up. And that's what I've been doing the past few years now, is writing. So yeah, doing all kinds of good stuff. So it's been lots of fun. That's, I guess, the Coles Notes version about me.
So what inspired you to become a writer?
Man, I've been asked that before, and it's always kind of hard because there's so many different ways that I've been inspired. I guess at a young age, the first inspiration, I think, that was a driving force for me was a high school teacher I had. Her name was Mrs. Beiser. And I used to write poems and draw or write little stories all the time, but I never really did anything much with them. But I had written this story, and it's funny enough, it was titled Lost, and it was kind of about aliens, an alien attack or something. And ironically enough, it is now lost. I cannot find that story anywhere. But maybe someday I'll find it in a box somewhere. I hope so.
Yeah.
But I gave it to her, and I asked her if she could read it. And I said, I'd love to hear your feedback, and if you wouldn't mind kind of editing it for me, or just give me some pointers, anything. And she did. She took it home, and she took her a little, a couple of weeks, but she got back to me, and she actually invited me out for a coffee. We went to this really nice little coffee place in Brandon, and we sat down. Like, almost, I felt like, for me at that age, being a teenager, that was huge. It was huge having a teacher sit down as almost feeling like equals, right? To talk about something creative like that.
Mm-hmm.
It really touched my heart, and she gave me a lot of positive feedback, and she really encouraged me to keep writing. She seemed to think that I had a lot of promise in that area. And that just touched me and really strengthened my love for writing. And I've kind of always kept writing since then, because I kind of always dreamed that someday I'd publish a book. So that was my first inspiration. And then my family, my supportive family, my husband, and just things that I see around me are inspirations daily. Just always things are happening that I'm just forever writing notes and seeing, and like, oh, that's going to be a story. And it just, there's so many inspirations. And like, one of the biggest ones also is God. Like he's always been in my life, and I cast all my cares on him, essentially. So like, if I'm struggling with anything, he's always been there for me. And he inspires me to follow my dreams. Like when I when the doors have kind of closed, or he's kind of always offered an open window for me. And in my recent life, that has been writing. So yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. So is the Big Ole Bike your first book?
It is. Sorry, I had to slurp some coffee there.
That's
Yes, it is my first book, my first published book. Yes. And I've been working on it for the couple years. It took a couple years to get it out, but yes, it's my first, but it should be a series. I'm working on a few more outlines and actually started the first chapter of book 2 for that series, which will be very exciting. And I'm always working on a lot of different projects. I've got lots of irons in the fire.
Oh, nice. And you write for competitions too, right?
I do. Yes. I love short fiction, short stories. And I write a lot for contests. Usually I have at least 4 contests a year that I'll try and write for. And I like the prompted contests where they give me like a genre and a subject and a character. And then I have to just use my imagination and create something from that. It sparks me. It sparks the old brain to keep working. And I just love it. So yeah, I do that a lot. So
have you ever thought about taking some of those short stories and putting them together in a book?
It's funny you say that, because I think that's like, I just don't have, I'm waiting until I have enough stories, like kind of in the same genre that where I could compile them in such a way. But yeah, I would love to do that. I think that would be really fun.
Mm-hmm, especially those that don't make the cut.
Yeah. Find a home for them anyway, right?
Right, exactly. And why not self-publish?
Why not? Yeah.
So you say you talked about outlining. Are you a full-on plotter, or are you what they call a plantser?
Yes. Well, I'll tell you the evolution of where I am right now. So I was a full-on pantser for a long time. I love to write by the seat, like fly by the seat of my pants, so to speak. I just have especially with short stories, it works easy because you have the idea and you can just start writing and it kind of flows, and then it's easy to kind of just spitball and keep working on the ideas as they come to you, because it's a shorter story. But I tried writing a novel, my first NaNoWriMo. I do NaNoWriMo, and my very first one was just 3 years ago. I wrote my first novel, which has obviously not gone anywhere yet. It's still in the editing phase. But and I tried that method with the novel, and boy, now on the back end, there's so much editing and so much, because I just powered through, and I just didn't have the full vision in my head. I was just kind of winging it. And now I'm working on a novel. I'm working on a sci-fi Western novel, this Camp NaNoWriMo, which is happening right now in April. And I decided to try something the total opposite to everything I've ever done and be a full-on plotter. So, and so far I am loving it. It took a while to go through it and hammer out basically to a full outline for every single chapter by chapter by chapter. And it seemed daunting. But now that I have that, I've got a perfect roadmap, and I'm just following that roadmap. And it is changing a bit as I'm going, and that's fine. But I'm loving it. And I don't know if I'm going to go back. I think I might kind of be a plotter now.
Do you have a sort of plotting method that you use, or do you just create your own as you go?
I've just created my own. I know that there's a lot of really good ones out there. Like there's, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like there's a snowflake method, and people use postcards, and there's a bunch of different kinds out there. Mm-hmm. I've just kind of done my own thing. I wrote a synopsis for it first, like a very long outline, and I actually shortened it into a synopsis. And then from there, I broke it up into what I thought would be chapters. Because what I do in my head is I play it like a movie. So as I'm running through it in my mind like a movie, I'm thinking, okay, how many words might this section be? And then I kind of break that off into a chapter. And that's how I run through it like that all the way through. And then that gives me a good idea of where it's going to turn out at the end. So
sounds kind of like, well, sounds similar to what I'm doing. I've started with I've worked the snowflake method with one novel, or I'm in the process of it.
Yeah.
But then I end up creating my own method too. So
yeah.
Because what?
Oh, I was just going to say, what's your method? But no, go ahead.
Well, I call it the plot stitch, but I'll explain more about that later.
Okay.
Yeah. And listeners have heard me kind of touch on it, but
okay.
So what was the inspiration behind the Big Ole Bike?
The inspiration, I wanted to write a book for my kids. I have 2 boys, and that was one kind of thing that was in the back of my mind, is trying out a children's book, because I have a soft spot for children's literature. So that was always kind of there. But what happened is I was driving home one day, and just on the street I drive every single day, and on the walk path there was a couple kids riding a bike. And well, 2 kids on 2 bikes, but the one of the kids was quite a smaller kid, and he had a really big bike, and I just thought that looked a little awkward, but he was making it work. And I just got immediately I got a spark in my head about, maybe he gets teased at school, and maybe, who knows what his life is like, like maybe he has dreams but doesn't know if he can realize them. And I just had all these different thoughts that ran through my mind while I was watching this kid ride, and as I tootled past in my car. And from there, it just took off when I got home, and I started writing kind of a bit of a very short little outline of what I thought my story might be. And then from there, I just started writing it. And I thought initially I might submit it to some sort of a contest at some point. So it was a lot shorter than it is now in its final version as a book. But I got a couple awesome readers to read it, and they got some feedback, and I just knew that there was more. So I expanded the story even more, and now it is what it is. But yeah, it's something so simple. It wasn't anything complex. I just saw these kids riding, and I just got this awesome idea. And I knew that it would be a book that I would want my kids to read someday, especially if they're struggling with bullying or confidence issues at school, that they'd have a book that they could read that might make them feel better. So,
as we say in the South, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, but I will say those bullies end up having to eat crow.
Yep, they do.
Yep, and that happens. So I go blank on the kid's name, but
Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver. Thank you. I don't know why my brain just went.
That's all good.
Because I think because I'm reading so many books, hard to keep them all straight.
Yeah.
But Oliver, I know he's been bullied and stuff, but then I don't want to spoil it. So tell me. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think what next question to ask, because I don't want to go too far. Let's start with tell people about the book in case they haven't read it.
Sure, no problem. So the Big Ole Bike is about a smaller than average boy who gets a bigger than average bike, a special bike from his grandfather for his 11th birthday. He loves the bike. It's the best thing ever. It doesn't matter that it's not shiny and brand new, because he just loves it. But not everybody does. There's some mean bullies in school, and one of them in particular really has always picked on Oliver for his size and a couple other things about him. And he decides he doesn't like this bike at all. And so he kind of gives Oliver a pretty hard time. And so with Oliver, Oliver gets challenged to a race. That's like a big thing in the book. So I'll say that, but I won't spoil what happens after that. So with his friends, he's got some great friends, Sue and Austin. Together, they go through setbacks and challenges and adventures, and they get up to all kinds of things together. And in the end, it comes down to Oliver having to figure out if he can be the hero at the end of this at the end of this journey. So, and what's going to happen with the race. So that's kind of what it's about. So,
yeah, it was a fun read, and it like I said, it grabbed me, and I could not put it down.
Aw, that's so good to hear.
Yep. No, I'm like, and I was rooting for Oliver, because I'm like, why don't they just leave him alone? But then, those characters you love to hate. I'm curious, because I know this happens for me. Do your characters talk to you?
I've heard people say that happens. I don't think that they talk to me. I hear them talking. I see the whole conversation playing out in my mind, and I feel like I'm almost there as a spectator. But no, I don't think they talk to me directly. But I've heard that lots from other writers. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Because if you're not doing what they want, they're going to tell you, or they're going to go silent. That has happened to me. Trust me. So just be prepared if that ever happens. You got to take another look at the story. So I was going to ask you, so tell me a little, can you give us a little bit of hint about what the next one's going to be about?
Sure. It's not, obviously it's only been first chapter, but it's going to be about summer camp. So the series is not always going to have the bike in it, but I think that'll probably always mention the bike, because that's kind of the heart of the first book. But this is going to take the kids, Austin, Sue, and Oliver, to a summer camp, which is going to be super, super fun. And they're going to get up to all kinds of hijinks and learn some lessons that they need to learn while they're there. So yeah, it'll be a fun time. And Oliver gets to ride horses, which he loves. That's a little tidbit for the book. He just adores horses, so he gets to ride a horse. So yeah.
Well, that'll be fun. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of some of the adventures I read as a kid. The Polk Street School adventures. And then
Yep.
I was about to say, not quite the Babysitter's Club, because that's a little bit YA now. But still, I've read a lot of those neat little adventure books that keep you hanging on to the end, and then you're like, oh man, you want to read more.
Yeah. No, I love some of those chapter books, like the older ones are great. Like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, you can't go wrong with, like, the Treehouse, and there's a bunch of them that are great that are older.
Did you ever read the Babysitter's Club?
I did, some of them. My sister had a few books, and I always kind of snuck them out of her room and read some of them when I was younger. So yeah.
I don't think I've read them all, but I know I've read a bunch of them. I may go back and reread them just for the fun of it, because it's been so long. So what advice do you have for new aspiring authors, or for authors who want to get into children's lit?
I think the biggest piece of advice I could give anyone that wants to write and pursue that passion, that dream of getting a book out in the world, is to not, there's a couple things. Not give up, because maybe some people that are writing, they might not know that. I mean, there's lots of rejection in the writing world too. You're going to write things and not everybody's going to like it. You're going to submit it places and it's not always going to get accepted. And so, but you just don't give up. Keep trying. Believe in your words. Believe in what you're writing. And if you have faith in it, someone else is going to eventually too. So that's one big thing I want to tell people, is just don't give up. Keep trying, because eventually you'll get there. Dreams do come true. And then the other one I'll say is just to keep practicing. So we all learn and we all grow by doing, and and reading a lot. Read a lot and write a lot. Just practice a lot and you will get better. If there's something that you love about another writer's story, you love how they phrased something or how they like to write something, and I mean, you can kind of take that as an inspiration for yourself. You can better your own skills. You can take courses, things like that. So lots of practice. Just make sure you keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So did you have pictures in the Big Ole Bike?
Yes, I illustrated it. There's on average probably about 3 pictures per chapter, and it's all sketched. I did it all with my good old trusty pencil. So and I painted the cover, front and back cover, with watercolor. So yeah, it was fun to do all that, planning out where to put the pictures in and which pictures should be there. And it was quite the learning curve. It was my first one. So yeah.
Oh wow. And you have your own publishing company, right?
I do now. It's a brand new thing. It's mostly, it's called Page Turn Press. And I created it as a home for my own self-published works at this point. So all of the books that I publish will be published with Page Turn Press. But I'm, in the future, there could be room for expansion where I might delve into anthologies, because I love short stories. So that's something that I might want to try and get out into the world, is some fun anthologies with some really creative and talented people's work in there. And who knows from there, you never know what the future could hold. Yeah.
Wow. Sounds like that was going to be a fun adventure.
Yes.
So where can people find you online?
They can find me at my website. My website is www.rachaelclarkewrites.com. So Rachel is spelled with an, I'll spell it for you because people often get my name spelled wrong. It's Rachael Clarke writes.com. So that's my website. And then I'm also on Twitter and I'm on Facebook. If you type in Rachael Clarke writes, you'll usually find me. On Twitter, I think I'm RA Clarke writes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So but you'll find me. Even if you just get to my website, there's links on there. You can pop into any of my social media platforms. Those are the main places you can find me. My book's on Goodreads. If you read it and you love it, please leave a review.
Yeah.
Leave a review on Amazon or Goodreads. That's always a big one, right? So
right. And you just reminded me, I got to do that too. I'm behind on reviews.
That's okay. It's okay.
Oh my goodness. So
yeah.
And I ask, and a lot of times I ask people now, if you don't have one, that's fine, but do you have a Bible verse you'd like to share?
I've never been, I love, obviously, there's a lot of Bible verses that have touched me over the years. My memory is not very good for off the top of my head where I could just recite. I've never been that person. I know a lot of people that are like that, and I'm not like that. But I did want, one of the ones that I've always been fond of ever since I was a child is John 3:16. And it's a classic. A lot of people love it.
For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Yeah, I actually didn't think I was going to be able to do that, but I actually memorized that.
Good job. That's a good job. Yeah, that one always sticks with me. No matter where I am, it's just always sticks with me.
I know that one for me, it's that one and Jeremiah 29:11.
Okay.
Yeah, so would you like to close us out in prayer?
Sure, I can. Our Heavenly Father, I'd like to thank you this day for Anne and for her wonderful conversation and the gracious invite that she's provided me today that I can speak with her. I also want to pray for everybody out there listening that they can have a wonderful day and that their families and friends and loved ones can be safe and healthy, and that they can enjoy all the blessings that you've given them. And I just pray that this world keeps spinning and that people heal and problems heal, and that that we're just going to get back to a life that we can find peace and have a little bit more happiness with. Things have been challenging lately, so that's my prayer for you today, God. And I thank you for listening, and I love you very much. Amen.
Amen. So we challenge you today to go out there and read to get inspired, write something inspiring, and share your creation with the world. For when you've touched one life, you've touched thousands. Thanks for joining us on Inspirational Journeys, and have a blessed day.